Sahana Bhavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Together we will chant Bhagavad Gita, chapter 9, verses 1 to 10.
अथ नवमोऽध्यायः श्रीभगवानुवाच इदं तु ते गुह्यतमम् प्रवक्ष्याम्यनसूयवे ज्ञानं विज्ञानसहितं यज्ञात्वा मोक्ष्यसे शुभात् राजविद्या राजगुह्यं पवित्रमिदमुत्तमम् प्रत्यक्षावगमं धर्म्यं सुसुखं कर्तुमव्ययम् अश्रद्दधानाः पुरुषाः धर्मस्यास्य परन्तप अप्राप्य मां निवर्तन्ते मृत्युसंसारवर्त्मनि मया ततमिदं सर्वं जगदव्यक्तमूर्तिना मत्स्थानि सर्वभूतानि न चाहं तेष्वस्थितः न च मत्स्थानि भूतानि पश्य मे योगमैश्वरम् भूतभृन्न च भूतस्थः ममात्मा भूतभावनः यथाकाशस्थितो नित्यं वायुः सर्वत्र गोमहान् तथा सर्वाणि भूतानि मत्स्थानीत्युपधारय सर्वभूतानि कौन्तेय प्रकृतिं यान्ति मामिकाम् कल्पक्षये पुनस्तानि कल्पादौ विसृजाम्यहम् प्रकृतिं स्वामवष्टभ्य विसृजामि पुनः पुनः भूतग्राममिमं कृत्स्नम् अवशं प्रकृतेर्वशात् न च मां तानि कर्माणि निबध्नन्ति धनञ्जय उदासीनवदासीनम् असक्तं तेषु कर्मसु मयाध्यक्षेण प्रकृतिः सूयते सचराचरम् हेतुनानेन कौन्तेय जगद्विपरिवर्तते
Lot of questions today and written down nicely, so that's a good thing. If we can discipline ourselves to always write the question down before class, that's always a good thing. Shilpa Shah, is the verse 5 and verse 8 the same? Okay, so let's read verse 5. Verse 5 says, where are you, Shilpa? There. Nor do beings dwell in me, behold my divine yoga. Bringing forth and supporting beings, myself does not dwell in them. Okay, so that's what verse 5 says. Now let's see what verse 8 says. I hope this is clear. Verse 5 says, nor do beings dwell in me, meaning that he had said, I am not in them, they are in me in the previous verse, right? So he said, like the ocean is not in the waves is in the ocean. The waves are in the ocean. So he says, nor do beings dwell in me. Nor do beings dwell in me in the sense that this is a figment of your imagination. You can say that the snake exists in the rope, or you can say that the snake does not exist in the rope. Both would be true statements. Okay, so is anybody attending this for the first time? By the first time, I mean that you have not heard verses 4 to 9 because they're all in a link. Is there anyone here who is not attended verses 4 to 9?
Yes, ma'am. Arita, this side I've not.
Okay. Anyone else?
Yes, ma'am. Sudha Prasad, I have not heard verses 4 to 9.
Okay, so now where did is this your first Gita class? Where have you
No,
come
no, no,
from?
ma'am. No, no, no. I've been, introduced by Deepa Nath. I've been attending.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so Arita and everybody else, please listen. We are very fortunate to be studying these verses 4 to 10 of chapter 9 because 4 to 10 give us a very good understanding of God's relationship with us. What is the relationship of the ultimate truth with this individuality? It gives you a very good understanding, and this is the time to sort of fix it, grapple it to your heart with hoops of steel, as Shakespeare would say. This is a good time to sort of get some kind of hold on the concept of God, because the concept of God is the most mutilated concept ever. So this is a good time for us to sort out our own thinking on that. Now, so many people have said so many things. Now here's the Lord telling us Himself what it is. So let's just do, I'll come to the question. I'm doing the summary first since we should all be on the same page. So verse 4 says, verse 4, chapter 9, verse 4. For all those who are coming for the first time, we are on the 9th chapter, verse 4, which will give us this relationship. What really is God? Now we must look at these verses 4 to 10 as you would look at a riddle. Okay, so they're all open to interpretation. However, whatever interpretation you do give to them, it must be self-consistent. It has to be consistent with itself and all the other facts which you know. That's how you know that you've got the right understanding. How do you ever know that you've got the right understanding of things? That the facts themselves are self-consistent and also consistent with the body of knowledge which is currently known to be true. So, use the same test over here as well. So, Maya, English. All this is pervaded by me in the unmanifest form. So, what is the first statement about the relationship of man and God? This whole thing, the whole universe is pervaded by me. There is no place in this universe that I am not, but I am unmanifest. What does the word unmanifest mean?
Not seen, not perceived.
Not perceive, not feel, not act.
Touched, feel, felt.
Okay.
Pure form.
Do full answer, not halfway answers.
It's purity. I mean, being in pure form, no changes as it is.
Arita, this is a specific subject. So if you haven't heard, it would probably be difficult to know what the answers to these questions are. I'm asking the class because they are supposed to know. They've already heard it. In Vedanta, everything is defined. Nothing is left to our imagination. What does the word unmanifest mean?
Cannot be
Cannot
perceived,
perceive with the
can be
senses
thought,
and
Has no form.
cannot feel it with your emotions
thinking.
and you cannot conceive
Ma'am?
it with your thinking.
Very
God
good.
is illusion and it has no boundaries and no end and no beginning.
That has got nothing to do with unmanifest.
It's your illusion.
Unmanifest. What is no? All this has got nothing to do with unmanifest. The word when you say something is not manifest, what does that thing mean? Manifest means expressed. What does that mean? It means that it is not perceivable. Perceivable means you can't hear it or taste it or smell it or touch it with your senses. You cannot perceive it. It's not manifest. So what does this term mean? Or let's go the other way. What does manifest mean? Manifest means that your senses can perceive it. So I say that, well, whatever. This remote over here is manifest. That means what? My fingers can touch it. My eyes can see it. If I knock on it, my ears can hear it. It's manifest. That means it is perceivable to my senses first. Or it is not perceivable to my senses, but It can be felt by my mind. Like an emotion is manifest. Why is it manifest? Because my mind feels it. My senses cannot perceive it, but my mind can feel it. Or my mind may not be able to feel something. My mind may not be able to feel E is equal to mc squared. But my intellect can conceive it, maybe. That's why it is manifest. So manifest or expressed means, please take note of all definitions in Vedanta. This is not generalization class. This is an education. You're expected to know everything. You're expected to know the facts, because how can you reflect on facts when you haven't heard the facts? So you're supposed to know the facts. So manifest or expressed means perceivable, feelable, or thinkable. It has to be one of these three. Otherwise, you cannot call that thing manifest or expressed. So, what is the Lord saying? That I am everywhere, but I am unmanifest. I am unmanifest means I cannot be perceived by your senses, I cannot be felt by your mind, I cannot be conceived by your intellect. That's what he's telling us. Because these words have specific meanings. Remember that Vedanta is a technical subject. Most people believe it is not a technical subject और सबको सब पता है. No, सबको सब पता नहीं है. सबका generalization होता है. Generalization में कुछ पता है थोड़ा सा और उसका बड़ा कुछ बना के बोलो. It's a gift of the gab. It is not knowledge. Please differentiate between these two things. So, the Lord says, all this is pervaded by me in the unmanifest form. That means I am here in every single bit of it, but you cannot perceive it, you cannot feel it, you cannot think it. You cannot think it. Remember what that means. When he says you cannot think it, that means he's basically telling you what? Everything I'm about to tell you, you're not going to understand. Isn't it? Because if you can think it, it isn't me. Why are you thinking you're going to understand any of this? Then you may ask the question, if already you know we are not going to understand any of it, then why are you even bothering to tell us? So can you answer that question?
So we don't misunderstand.
Very good, Sarthak. Excellent. Because the more important thing is not whether you understand God or not, you're not going to. The bigger problem in our life is we misunderstand. And when we misunderstand, we create all the mess that we are creating. So he's already beginning by telling us, look, none of this is comprehensible. How do you know? Look, all this you have to get from between the lines, right? Because what is his statement? His statement is, all this is pervaded by me in the unmanifest form. This is his statement. Now you have to break his statement down. When you say all this is pervaded, okay, when we study and how do you know what you know, we will see that you have to use words like all, or none, or some, or few. Otherwise, the sentence has no meaning. It's a basic tenet of logic. So, sarvam, all is pervaded. When you say all is pervaded, that means there is no part where the Lord is not. So, suppose I ask you, is the Lord not there in the abattoir? Is the Lord there in the abattoir?
Yes.
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 He's
He
there.
has to be there by his own claim. He says, I am everywhere. That means in the abattoir, he has to be there. Is he in the bathroom?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, he has to be. What about is Krishna in the masjid?
Yes.
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 So when he is making the claim that I am everywhere, why are you saying he's not everywhere? Is he making any claim that I'm in any particular place somewhat more? Am I more in the very pavitra places than I am anywhere else? Is there any such indication? There's no such indication. It's not indicated any such thing. So, I am everywhere in the unmanifest form. So, you understand, I am everywhere. So, the question is, does God exist in hell?
Yes.
Yes, right? By
Yes.
his own definition, he claims that means when you go to hell, God is still there. What are you frightened of? You
Very
can't
well.
escape him. He is there wherever in the world you may be. He is there. You cannot escape him. That's what he says. Okay, we are not saying it. He is saying it. We're only reading what he says. All this, all, sarvam, all this is pervaded by me in the unmanifest form. But though I am everywhere, you cannot perceive it, you cannot feel it, you cannot think it. Okay, line 1 clear to everybody? Is there anyone to whom line 1 is not clear? Let me go the other way. Is there anyone to whom line 1 is not clear? Ah. Okay, now there are so many. I have to be specific. There no nonsense generalization now anymore in the class because you all now become senior students. So, okay, all good. Arita, you're okay. Sudha, you're okay. Okay. So, let line 2 of verse 4. All beings dwell in me, I do not dwell in them. All beings dwell in me, I do not dwell in them. That is like saying, the ocean saying, I do not dwell in the waves dwell in me. Okay, it's just that you don't say God is in something, you say we are in God because God is the master, right? So in that sense, he is saying it, that all this world is contained in me. The entire cosmos, the entire galaxies, it is all contained in me. Okay, line 2 of verse 4 clear? Anybody has a problem with this line? If you have a problem, say something. Oh my God, there's lots being written here. I hope it's not pertaining to what we are talking about. Okay, so all good. All right, so now, verse 5. Shilpa, this is verse 5. Nor do beings dwell in me. अभी तो बोला all beings dwell in me. अभी बोल रहे हैं नहीं dwell. Make up your mind. So please look at these verses as a riddle. If your understanding is correct of the relationship of God with us, then every one of them must fit in, just like in a riddle. Like the famous riddle, you know about, what is that? Tell me some riddle, somebody. I told you one last time. Give me some easy riddle. Okay, I remember one from childhood. CH in the beginning, CH in the end, you are in the middle. You remember that one? As a child, we used to have that in school. CH in the beginning.
Church.
Yeah.
Church, yes.
Church, yeah. Church.
So if it makes no sense, CH in the beginning, CH in the end, you are in the middle, makes no sense until you understand the word church is CH in the beginning, you are the letters in the middle, and CH again in the end. So it becomes clear when you know the answer. So similarly in these verses, it will become clear if you know the whole answer. Every part of this will become very, very clear. There's no reason to get confused. So now he says, nor do beings dwell in me. Meaning, all this that you see, the entire phenomenal universe, is nothing but a figment of your own imagination. It is like saying that it is like the example of the snake and the rope. A very famous example of Vedanta is snake and the rope. There is a rope lying on the ground. You do not see the rope, you see the snake. You believe that rope to be a snake. When you see the snake, the rope can say, I exist in every part of that snake you see. Right? He can say that. All of this snake that you see dwells in me. And then the rope can make the next statement, but the snake does not dwell in me. Right? So both these statements would be true if you understand it. It is like the desert saying about the mirage. The entire mirage you see lies in me. And then the desert says, but behold, there is no mirage here. It's in that sense you understand it. Behold my divine yoga. Behold this miraculous thing. You're seeing a whole samsara where there is nothing there. And I can think, you say, how do I even understand this? Think about your childhood. You had a whole samsara, right? Around a toy, around the Barbie dolls, or around some dinky cars. You had a whole samsara around it. I remember as a child at one, at the club, the Father Christmas came and he gave me a tea set. And I thought, oh wow, Santa Claus has come and given me a tea set. And then it was quite an elaborate ceremony we used to have. This tiny, tiny cups, and then we used to get tea, and then like this much tea that we were served in those tiny little things. A big elaborate ceremony around it. My friends would be called for a tea party, and we would get one biscuit and like this much tea. It was an elaborate ceremony. It wasn't simple. And all my friends would come and we'd be excited to drink in our little pink cups, tea, that too, which was like, otherwise prohibited. You're not allowed to drink it. Getting tea, it's like one spoon of tea you're getting. And such an elaborate thing. Now, where is that tea set? Where is that tea party? Where are those friends who are so excited to be given tea? That whole samsara is gone. Because when that entanglement goes, where is that thing that you were creating this fuss about? All the excitement, and who came for your tea party and who didn't come, and who didn't come for what reason. I mean, there was a whole samsara around it. And yet now that samsara means nothing to any of the participants of that samsara. Where are those teacups? Where are those pink teacups? Where is that whole set? Where are those tiny little plates in which we could keep one small, very small thing? All gone, right? Because when the entanglement is gone, it's not there. So he says, it's like the rope saying, behold this miraculous thing. This snake which you're seeing is not there. And the moment you see that there is no snake, it was a rope, the whole thing is gone. No problem whatsoever. So he says, nor do beings dwell in me, nor does that snake lie in the rope. Okay, verse 1, line 1 of verse 5 clear. Anyone to whom this line is not clear? Anyone saying anything? Please put on your video and ask if it is not clear. So I'm assuming clear. So now let's go to, is someone saying something?
Ma'am, can you help us out with one more example?
One more example for this line. It's like saying
Yes.
the desert saying, okay, which one? I said the desert saying that, look, the mirage is in me, and then saying, no, but there is no mirage in me. Which rope, snake, desert, mirage? What other example? What tell me what you didn't understand. I don't know which other example to give you.
So for example, rope and snake. So it's, for example, if I see it as my imagination that I consider snake as a rope, I can consider rope as a snake as well.
Wait, there is a rope. The example is this. There is a rope lying on the ground.
Okay.
Okay, it is dark, so you didn't see the rope. But seeing something there, you thought it was a snake.
Okay.
Now imagine that rope is talking, and that rope says, the snake that you see is in me. Right statement, correct?
Yeah.
Then imagine the rope says, no, but there is no snake in me. That's also a right statement, right?
You're right.
Is it clear now?
Yes. Okay. Okay. Sure. Thank you.
So, second line of verse 5.
Ma'am, one question. Hari Om.
Yeah, Hari Om, Ganesh.
Ma'am, but so why do we get entangled, right? It's I know it's because of
If
it.
relevant to the context, why we get entangled, we'll do that later on.
Okay.
But these verses themselves are like a little strain to try and understand.
Yes, absolutely. Okay.
So we won't go into the whys
Yes,
of it at the
absolutely.
moment. Okay, so bringing forth and supporting
Janki ji,
beings.
sorry, but
May I, Janki ji? May I?
Yeah, go ahead, Uttara. Oh, sorry, Ashya was saying something. Yeah, Ashya, go ahead.
Janki ji, that example of the wave and ocean. So when do we use the wave and ocean, and when do we use wave and water?
Wave and water. No, it's not like that, Ashya. It is you have to understand it from the context of what he is talking. We don't say we use this or we use that. We are just giving a comparison to understand what is the concept he is trying to portray. So in any comparison, we're going to study one chapter on this on Thursdays. In any comparison, you have to only compare comparable parts, because the moment you go to something which is incomparable, I mean what you cannot compare, you throw the whole understanding out. So in this case, you have to only take that bit that will help you understand. We're only doing that which will help us understand this relationship. So go very carefully and see what exactly is he trying to say. And the example is only given to understand that relationship. So don't bring any other example or any other point.
Okay, Janki ji.
Yes, Uttara?
Janki ji, I understand this is a very difficult concept, but I just wanted to know that, like those self-realized person, so that means they see God everywhere. Is that so? That their doubts are cleared, that they don't see as we see?
Yes, Uttara, but that is irrelevant to the context. It's not about what they see. He is at the moment communicating to us who don't see. He is using this methodology. He has this wonderful methodology of communicating. So we have to go with him. When we go with him, then we will understand what is he trying to express. So don't worry about what the realized people see or don't see. That's not relevant to our context. Our context is about how is a person who is a wise person, who knows the truth, how is he explaining to us who don't know the truth? So he's used a beautiful methodology. He changes it in every verse so that every misunderstanding you could possibly have is removed.
Okay, thank you.
So then he says, so first line of verse 5 is clear, then we go to second line. Bringing forth and supporting beings, myself does not dwell in them. It's like the rope saying that you can see any amount of things happening in me. I am lying there. You can see a snake, you can see maybe a crack in the earth, you can see maybe a twig, you can see any amount of things. So why are you seeing those things? I bring them forth. I bring them forth means, please listen carefully because this is a greatly misunderstood concept. The Lord claims to bring forth this. It's like the rope claiming to bring forth the snake and the twig and the crack in the earth. So how can the rope make such a statement? Because the rope is not caused any of this, right? So clearly this is not a correct statement if you look at it like that. But that's not how you look at it. How you look at it is, had the rope not been there, how would you have seen the crack or a snake or a twig? So the presence of the rope gives about the potential of not knowing the rope to be a rope. So in that sense, I bring them forth. But myself does not dwell in them. I have got nothing to do with whatever you guys have come up with.
Ma'am,
Yes, Sarthak.
मैम यू ऑलवेज से दैट एक एग्जांपल एक ही चीज के लिए अच्छा होता है एंड लाइक अब वो कृष्ण जी खुद कह रहे हैं कि आई ब्रिंग देम फोर्थ सो लाइक व्हाई नॉट जस्ट बिलीव हिम दैट ही ब्रिंग्स इट फोर्थ एंड नॉट compare it with the snake and the rope example.
Because how will you fit the whole thing in?
Ma'am, because he's saying na, that through
No,
Maya.
Sarthak, you're repeating. You have to make sure that all verses from 4 to 10, the whole lot of them fit in. You can't just pick out one and say, okay, this is the truth. No, he said them all. He said it, right? It's not, we didn't fake it. We are not creating a Gita as we go along. There's no debate. One thing good about the Gita versus other texts that we have is that there's no debate here. Everybody agrees that this is the Gita. So he has not said only that. He has said so many things. Now, all these things have to fit in. Once you're able to have a philosophy that fits them all in, you know that that philosophy has to be right. You can't just pick one statement and say, oh, he said it. He said it means what?
Okay, ma'am, I'll wait till the end of 10th verse.
Okay. There was a Muslim chap, and then he was found drinking. And then the Maulvi caught hold of him and told him, you are a Muslim, you are drinking. Don't you have any brains? Your Quran has told you don't drink. Please stop drinking. Why are you drinking? So this chap told the Maulvi Sahib, kya aap pura Quran, can you live the whole Quran? Maulvi said, no, nobody can do it. Live the whole Quran. That is too tough. So he said, so then everybody lives some part of it, right? Said, yes, of course, everybody lives some part of it. Means we can all practice some part of it. So he said, then I'm practicing some part of it. He said, what are you talking rubbish? You're a drunkard. What practice of the Quran are you doing? He said, see, what did the Quran say? Drink alcohol and you go to hell. So I'm doing the drink alcohol part of it. So when you take sentences out of context like that, you can get any meaning. The difficulty always is in seeing things in context. Even around class, you pick up any sentence in class and then you go and say, we learned this in class. Then who knows what can be made out of that sentence. Always context. You have to know context and you have to know flow of thought if you want to understand a text. So, is line 2 of verse 5 clear? Is there anybody to whom this verse is not clear?
Ma'am, I have a question. Probably I don't know how to ask, but suppose the rope says that you see the things lying in me, and if you're seeing so many things, rope is bringing that forth. And so suppose any human mind, a learned human mind would whatever thing would come from the human mind, and in the end rope to do nothing with the human mind. Isn't it like detachment in the end, because it uh, the perception of human being comes from the knowledge. And if we talk about God now, he is the one who created us, and what is education is reference to all these Vedas or Gita, uh, and that is how you start thinking. So how is God nothing to do with what human beings think? The learned ones I'm talking about.
That's what he's saying. We claim God created us. This is Sarthak's favorite concept, that God created us. Many people in this world believe that God created us. That's why please attend to what the Gita says. If you believe that the Gita is the voice of the Lord, if you believe that, then listen to what he says. No. What is he saying? Nor do beings dwell in me. Look, you guys, you don't exist, firstly. Okay. Then he says, bringing forth and supporting beings. Hey Bhagwan, pehle bolte hai. This, then he says that. Now please notice what contradictions he's making. He's forcing us to think. He's forcing us to stretch. if Vedanta has to create clarity, please make that stretch. Otherwise, you can't get clearer. You can't develop your intellect unless you're willing to make that stretch. You have it in your head that God created us. He is not saying so. He has made no such thing. He says, bringing forth and supporting beings, myself does not dwell in them. In the context, we can only understand it to mean that when the rope is there, any misunderstanding of the rope can only come because the rope is there. Unless something is there, how can you misunderstand it to be something else? So in that sense, the rope created all these misunderstandings. Okay, but the rope didn't create any of those misunderstandings, right? We created it ourselves. But because the rope is there, the potential of not knowing the rope as the rope exists. That is what he means by I created. It doesn't mean he sat there one day with a lot of mud and then he made some putlis and then he put them in the oven and they came out nice and white. Then he thought, yeah, this is not looking good. Send them to Europe. Then he put them again in the oven. They came out too black. He said, oh, no, this is not right. He sent them to Africa. And he put them third time in the oven. He made more putlis and put them in the oven. And they came out nice brown color. And then he sent them to India. That's why we are such and such nice colored. It's perfect. God perfected it by the time it came to us. Is this to be believed? What is to be believed over here? So let us, Sarthak, you must follow context. Otherwise, you take the story and say, we learned in class that Indians are the best color. You can't do that. Context, always context. So, bringing forth and supporting beings, myself does not dwell in them. I have got nothing to do with this stuff that you have created. Absolutely nothing. That's what the rope says. The rope says, you see me as a snake, you see me as a twig, you see me as a crack in the earth. I have got nothing to do with it. Okay, verse 5 clear. Let's go on to verse 6. Verse 6 says, as the mighty wind moving everywhere ever rests in space, even so know that all beings rest in me. Some relaxation with an example he gives us. Okay, same idea that everything exists in the self. Whatever you may think it to be. You may think of something as very beautiful and very ugly. It exists in the self. You may think of something as very divine or something as very sinful. It all exists in the self. You may think something as very superior or very inferior. It all exists in the self. As the mighty wind blowing everywhere exists only in space. So too, anything that you may come up with exists only in divinity. It's all divinity. When you are crying broken-hearted, it is divinity. When you are rejoicing with the joys of life, it is divinity. When you understand and that spark comes to you, oh my God, I finally got it, it is divinity. When you cannot understand and you say, ye to mere sir ke paar hai, that is also divinity. Whatever you can experience is nothing but divinity. So he says, as the mighty wind moving everywhere rests ever in space, even so, know that all beings rest in me. Going back to our rope and snake example, it's like the rope saying, as the mighty wind exists in space, know that all your snakes, all your twinks, all your cracks, whatever it is you come up with, they all exist in me alone. Verse 6 clear? Anyone not clear? Don't go anywhere else, okay? Focus only on the point. Anybody's not clear on verse 6?
Yeah, I just want to clarify, Janki. So the previous one, he says that nothing is in me. Now again, he's coming back and saying that everything is in me. Is that right?
That's
okay.
right. So he sandwiched nothing is in me in between two statements saying that everything is in me. So you have to see context. Otherwise, you'll say, what has he got mad over? Every day he has a different view on this matter. It's like questioning a riddle. The riddle is correct. You have to start with that. In the sense, there is an answer to that riddle. When you start with that, only you get the answer. Otherwise, you will never get the answer. Okay? So then he says, verse 7. O Kaunteya, at the end of a kalpa, kalpa means a time cycle, all beings enter my prakriti. At the beginning of a kalpa, I bring them forth again. This we already studied in chapter 8, right? He's just referring back to it. That entire cycle of life, birth and death, whether at our individual levels or at societal levels or at the cosmic level, all of this takes place in the self. When the Big Bang takes place, it took place in the self. When the universe collapses on itself, eventually, whenever that happens and returns back to that less than 1 teaspoonful of matter, all the entire universe concentrated in just that little bit, that little speck, including time and space and causation, all wrapped up into one tiny little particle. All of this happens in the self. Referring back. I'm not going into the explanation of the kalpas at the moment because we've done it and it's not really relevant at this point. Okay, what we need to understand is creation and destruction, and the cycle of creation and destruction goes on in the self. Because things are not static. Things are always in dynamic movement. Every day we come up with a different thing, right? Every day you open the newspaper, COVID cases are now 3 lakh, and then they say there'll be 30 lakhs, or whatever they'll say. Will half of us be dead at the end of it? Or will there be double of us at the end of it? We don't know. But whether it is creation or whether it is destruction, all in the self. The beginning, the end, and the middle are nothing but the self. So at the beginning, so important for us is I bring them forth at the beginning, I close them down again, which is not really correct because that's not what he does. He is the enlivening factor. He is the enlivening principle. He is that principle that enables everything to happen but does nothing itself. Just as electricity enables the fan to go round, the air conditioner to give cool air, the washing machine to wash clothes, the mixer to grind it. Now we can give all these because all the men also know all about mixers and washing machine and everything nowadays. So the dishwasher washes dishes. All this happens because of electricity, and electricity has got nothing whatsoever to do with it. In other words, what does it mean? The electricity is not interested in whether your dishes are washed or not. The electricity is not interested in whether you're feeling hot or cold. And yet neither the heater nor the air conditioner will work without it. That is what the self does. Okay, so what is the self saying? That at the beginning I start it, at the end I shut it. In the sense that petrol can say, because of me the car moves, and by my power the car stops. It's in that sense. Please understand this. Otherwise it's taken to mean that God is shutting creation, factory is creating over here. He creates it, then he gets bored with it, then he kills a whole lot. Then again he creates something again. Then again he says, ye to acha nahi hai, usko tod do. There's an actually beautiful song in Marathi. I don't know if you all have ever heard it. It talks about what is God? Is he a mad potter? Vithala, tu Veda Kumbhar. Kumbhar means potter. O Vithala, O God, O Vishnu, tu Veda Kumbhar. Veda means mad. You are a mad potter. Toots a ghadivita. You are creating, you are destroying. Who knows what you are achieving out of this? What is your point? What is your purpose? It's a beautiful philosophical song about, oh Vithala, you are a mad potter. For what are you creating? And for what are you breaking? You are the one who creates the beautiful pots. You are the one who creates the horrible pots. What are you doing it for? You are collecting all this, all the elements, he says. You created all. So it's a very, very nice philosophical idea which shows us the presence of divinity and questions the concept of attributing causalness to it. Beautiful thing. If you ever hear it and you know Marathi or you see a version with the subtitles, go and hear it. So it's the same concept. What are you thinking? You think he's mad or something? It is his doing, but certainly it cannot be mad, right? So if you're looking at it like that, something is wrong somewhere. Okay, so now come to verse 8. Verse 9 is clear. The cycle starts and stops. Everything goes on because of me. It's a continuation of that same thought. And then he says, now look at what he's saying in verse 8. It almost seems in these verses, in the previous verse, he's taken back responsibility to himself. I created the kalpa. I ended the kalpa. He took the responsibility. Now look at what he says in verse 8. Animating my own prakriti, I bring forth again and again all this multitude of beings. I animate Prakriti to bring forth all these beings. Have you noticed? He is very subtly pushed some new factor into this. So what you have already studied this is just a way to know that you got your understanding correct. We already know that the individual is a combination of self and matter, Brahman and Prakriti, Purusha and Prakriti, technical terms. It is everything in this world is a combination of that. So it says, animating my own Prakriti. Now he's brought in Prakriti. He's saying, Baba, I don't do anything. Prakriti does. What do? I animate it. This combination of Purusha and Prakriti, of God and matter, creates this multitude of beings again and again, helplessly by the force of Prakriti. It is our vasanas which helplessly make us whatever we are. The self has got nothing to it. Look at how he's withdrawing himself from it. Completely. If 1 verse ago he took, I'm doing the whole kalpa. Now he's saying, look, I'm doing means I am animating Prakriti. I am not doing. Prakriti is doing. So, Shilpa, coming to your question, now what did verse 5 say? Nor do beings dwell in me. Behold my divine yoga. Bringing forth and supporting beings, myself does not dwell in them. What does verse 8 say? Animating my own Prakriti, I bring forth again and again the multitude of beings, helplessly by the force of Prakriti. Important here is Prakriti. So he said that I bring them forth there. Over there he says I bring them forth. Here he is saying I bring them forth in combination with Prakriti. And it is the force of Prakriti that makes this helpless creation. It's not me. I am not making anybody do anything. Is that clear?
Yes,
Ma'am.
the animation was the only thing common between both the verses. So
enlivening. So now he's saying, I am enlivening Prakriti to do this.
Yes.
Electricity says, I am enlivening the fan to give the breeze. I am enlivening the bulb to give light. Electricity says.
Yes. The vasanas to come.
Yes, the self enlivens the vasanas to function. The vasanas function helplessly.
Yes. Okay. Thank you very much.
So
What
everybody's
is the?
clear.
I have a question. What is the my own prakriti? My own nature, he says.
Yeah, prakriti means vasanas.
So he has vasanas. When he says my own,
Everything is him, remember?
okay.
So your body, mind, intellect is also him. Everything is him, he said. So vasanas are him. It's like every pot is made of the clay, right?
Yeah.
The clay and the pot cannot be divorced.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Ma'am,
Yeah, go ahead, Sagar.
Ma'am, you are confusing us a little bit. Like, in Christianity there is like Christ ये सब कुछ नहीं कर रहे, ये सब Satan कर रहे हैं. Satan is tempting people, and now you are doing like the same thing, that Prakriti is doing everything, but Prakriti भी भगवान ही है. तो मतलब अद्वैत पढ़ रहे हैं कि द्वैत पढ़ रहे हैं, and ma'am, it is a little confusing. Like Prakriti, if you are separating it from God, then God has nothing to do with it. That is true, but wouldn't that come in Dvaita?
Yes, he's not. That was what Anita was just asking. No, why saying my own prakriti? Because that prakriti is also God. There is no difference between the clay and the pots. We just went through this, Sarthak. Listen, listen, listen.
Yeah, ma'am, Prakriti is from God, but like
Not from God. Listen, is God.
yeah, Prakriti is God. Then we can give the credit of creation to him, right? Or no?
No, you can't. Because Prakriti is Maya. When there is no Maya, what are you talking about? Creating what? It's like you're saying, I will give the credit of creation of the mirage to the desert. So somebody will say, what mirage? Where is the mirage? What are you talking about? Please go through these verses, everybody, very carefully, because only when you understand them all and understand them together, you've understood what he is talking about.
Janki ji,
And
so much.
One second, Deepa. Meera, I think, has been
Yeah.
trying to say something. She's just unmuted herself. Go ahead.
Sorry. Ma'am, in the last explanation of this para, it is written Brahman declares non-apprehension referred to as Prakriti, as its own nature. The non-apprehension of Brahman produces several misapprehensions. Okay, the kaleidoscopic patterns of beings appearing in the world are mere misapprehensions of Brahman. So these illusory projections will last as long as you do not apprehend Brahman. But the moment you apprehend Brahman, all misapprehensions disappear and the worlds vanish. You please explain that.
Meera, I have been explaining
Yes,
this
yes.
itself all this time.
Once
I don't
again,
know what further to explain.
Just, I mean, like when you say
What?
vanish, the world vanishes.
Okay, so
You're not
remember
supposed
the
to-
example of the pink tea set I had? Did you have a pink
Yes.
tea set when you were a child?
Yes.
Where is that pink tea set? You love that pink tea set? Saturday afternoons when you called your friends over to have tea with you and you thought you were so grown up when you were getting some tea to have. Where is all that? Where is that excitement? Where is that fun? And where is that actual tea set? That tea set which meant so much at one point, today means what? I don't know where it is. I don't know if it exists at all. What happened to it? Who put it where? Who knows? Right? It has disappeared. Why has it disappeared? Because, why has it disappeared?
Our intellect has improved.
The involvement is gone. There is no samsar. Samsar means involvement. When there is no involvement, what samsar? So vanish, you must understand, at least for relative purposes, as kahan hai wo? Where is last night's dream? It's vanished. Suppose you dreamt last night, Meera, that you were getting the Pulitzer's Prize for journalism, and you were so excited. Okay, morning you woke up. वो prize wise कुछ है नहीं. Where is that prize? It's gone, na? It's disappeared. That which caused so much happiness, or anything causing sorrow. कहाँ है वो sorrow भी नहीं, वो joy भी नहीं, वो prize भी नहीं. It's vanished. Yeah, Deepa.
It's
thought
not
you
a
were-
question, Janki ji, but I'm just thinking so much of study is just to tell us we don't exist.
Because we are so firm in our belief that we do exist.
Okay.
That's why to remove all of that is going to take us time. How and why? It's not a question even of that we exist or not. It's how important I find myself. I find myself the center of this universe. If I'm worried about COVID, what is it I am worried about? Am I worried of the billions of the 3 lakh people who died in India? Suppose I could be assured that no matter how many people die in the world, India is going to be saved. Will I even consider COVID? If I could be assured that the whole world can die of COVID, but my city will not die, will I be concerned? Will I be frightened? If I could be assured that the whole world could die, but I and my family are safe, am I going to be concerned? And at the end of the day, really, if I was told that no matter what happened, you are not going to die in COVID, would we be worrying at all? So the importance that I give myself comes because I believe in my own existence. And I believe that everything around this is something to do with me. If somebody says good morning, it's something to do with me. If he doesn't say good morning to me, something to do with me. Nothing to do with me. And the whole purpose of religious education is to remove the importance I give myself. That's the entire purpose. Because a pure human being, a great human being, is a being who can understand that there's other people there. Hello, how did you become the center of this universe? So yes, Deepa, you're right. A lot to tell us that our existence isn't as critical as we believe it to be. Is raising us up to a different level to comprehend that. Now, suppose somebody tells you that you are unimportant, that you don't exist, that it doesn't even matter whether you live or die. You might accept that. You might agree with that, but you can never live that. Because the truth of the matter is, in your heart of hearts, deep down in the core of your personality, you can never accept that you're not important. In your heart of hearts is always, you may not think I'm important, I am important. You can never lose the sense of your own importance. And the reason we cannot lose the sense of our own importance is because we are important. Deep down in that core is known as divinity or God. And that unconscious importance we are giving our body, mind, intellect is nothing but a reflection of the true importance of our own self. And once
Janki ji, you're talking like Krishna now.
What?
You're talking like Krishna, telling us we don't exist and we are very important.
Oh, you are. It is the truth. And I'm talking like him because he said it. I'm only repeating it. So get that I am important. But what is important about me is not the body, mind, intellect, but my core, the core of my being, the self. Once you get that clear in your head, you're good for life. Because you could go anywhere and do anything and you're fine. You just absolutely fine. So we couldn't complete up to verse 10. I was hoping that we would follow. Please follow the line of thought, because you have to follow the whole thing together to understand the beauty and the magnitude of what we're talking about. Because we're talking about ourselves. We are not talking about something out there. Okay, so oh gosh, there were so many questions. Let me just take a quick look at the question. Aditi, is the concept of Udasinavat Asaktam Sakshi Bhav the same? Yes. Surendra, verse 2 does not mention about the self. So why the explanation regards to self? Incorrect, Surendra. Verse 2 does talk about the self. What is the royal knowledge? What is the royal secret? What is the supreme purifier? These are all adjectives about the self. So therefore, he's explaining it further. The others are answering questions. Oh, Rita, you couldn't hear? Naresh, is there any purpose to creation? The whole point of Vedanta, Naresh, is there is no creation. Why will you put purpose to something that doesn't exist?
No, you mentioned in the Marathi poem, ma'am, that the God is
Yes, I read
created.
your poem. I read your question, Naresh. I did mention it, and I'm telling you that there is no purpose because there is no creation. So listen to the answer, because I do listen to your questions. I listen to everything you people tell me, because the only way to express this knowledge, the greatest teacher of any teacher is always her students. So I listen to very carefully to everything you all say. You said Jyoti, you said Prakriti is God, then Prakriti is Vasanas, then Prakriti is Maya. Now I'm confused. What is Prakriti? Jyoti, all these statements are correct. It's all part of the greater riddle. So once you understand the whole picture, even that will be clear. But to begin, our first step of understanding is to say Vasana is different from God. Okay, once you understand that much, then you understand the next step, which is Vasana and God are the same, because everything is God. Okay, but as you understand all these verses together, it will become clear.
Thank you.
Hari Om.
Hari Om
Hari Om
Janki ji.
Janki ji.
Thank you very much.
Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Hari
Thank you.
Om.
Hari Om Janki ji, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, ये concept थोड़ा difficult है ना.
Hari Om Janki ji.
Hari Om Janki ji.
Hari Om Janki ji, thank you.
Thank you.
Hari Om Janki ji, thank you.
Hari Om Janki ji.
Hari Om.
Thank you, Janki ji.